Happy Monday, ladies. And what we're going to talk about today is praying for the narcissist. And I know many of you might have the question, should I continue to pray for the narcissist after I have left him? And to me, that is an individual, pretty much an individual decision, but I'm still going to give my take on it. For me personally, I would say no. And the reason why I would say that is because of the fact that the trauma bonds and the soul ties are so strong that when you come out of it, what you do is reinforce by praying for someone. Think about it. When you stop and you pray for someone, after a while, your heart begins to soften for that person, right? And we're not talking about forgiveness, we're talking about prayer. So your heart begins to soften for that person, right? And you actually start to feel connected to that person, whether you want to believe that or not. And so after going through everything that you've just been through, and if you continue praying for this individual, I feel that you would end up just reinforcing the trauma bond and reinforcing the soul tie that you have with this individual. Think about it. You're trying to break the soul tie, right? And break the trauma bond, but through prayer, you're just going to end up reinforcing it. Now, remember, the trauma bond you get from having those up and down cycles, right? That's like a roller coaster. First, you were love bombed, right? And that's how he was able to pull you in. And then after the love bomb, what happened is that you went into the devaluation phase, right? And in the devaluation phase, what happens is that you have this up and down roller coaster where you're devalued, you're down. And then, he might be talking to his friends, telling about how you got this and that degree and you know how to cook real good and you organize everything for him and you set up his appointments and how smart you are. So then you go up real high and then he starts talking about your mama and whatever it is that you value, he devalues. It could be your lipstick, your facial appearance, whatever physical flaws you have on your face and whatnot, your body type, anything. And so then when he devalues you, it takes you back down to the bottom of the roller coaster. And then he pumps you back up for whoever he's trying to make an impression with, right? And then you go right back down. So you up and down. And that's what causes the trauma bond. But a lot of people get trauma bonded even before the devaluation phase starts. And you might be thinking, okay, so how does that happen? When you meet him, you end up talking too much, so to speak, and telling him all of your traumatic history. And a lot of times this is spurred on because he might share one or two things and then have a very dramatic moment rather, in regards to those one or two things. It could be falling out or whatever. You get pulled in and then all of a sudden you feel obligated to share your story. You see what I'm saying? And so in this obligation, right, you share too much. And so that's how you end up being trauma bonded. He has shared his trauma. You have shared your trauma. Thus, you end up being trauma bonded. And so the devaluation phase only reinforces the trauma bond that's already there. Then if you sinned against your body by giving away your blessing, and we all know what that means, right? You've also created a soul tie. And your soul is your mind, your will, and emotion. So all of this is caught up into him. You're trauma bonded and soul tied to him. So then when you come out, 9 times out of 10, before you left the relationship, if you're a Christian, you've been praying and praying and praying that things were going to work out. And you prayed so to the point where you actually end up with, in like what I say, you've taken the airplane, right? You've flown to Fantasy Island where all your dreams come true, so to speak. And you're there like magical thinking. And that's because he kept you through future faking, making you believe that things were going to go back to the beginning, right? And so those highs and lows of that, think with the future faking trauma bond, that you reinforce the trauma bond rather. The devaluation reinforced the trauma bond. But the beginning of the trauma bond 9 times out of 10 was in the very beginning when you shared too much after he shared a little bit, right? And then became the mysterious man, so to speak. So when you reinforcing your soul tie and reinforcing your trauma bond, you with the soul tie, you're going through a lot of withdrawal symptoms, just like a person who's on cocaine or any other drug. And so you're praying for them. Your heart is connecting on an emotional and a spiritual level. Okay. And so then what ends up happening is you end up just reinforcing the soul tie and the trauma bond. And so a lot of that, some people may disagree. Like I said, this is just my opinion. A lot of that comes from that codependency side and that slash fix it slash savior mode part of you that wants to think that if I can just keep praying for him, he is going to change and things are going to turn around even while I'm not with him, and maybe I can go back. So that's some food for thought. If you have any more questions, head over to thevalleyofgrace.com. Until next time.